Welcome, everyone. We are live on a Wednesday. I am Chris Gore from Film Thread, and I hope you're having a good day today. You know, whatever time zone you might be in, it's just after lunch for me. I wrapped up the Nerdrotic Nooner with Gary Beekler and X-Ray Girl. Had a great time there. I hope maybe some of you came from there to continue the conversation. I am off my couch, but I just gave you a brief tour of my living room. A lot of stuff in that living room. A lot of stuff in here that I would love to show you someday. Lots to talk about today. What are we talking about on the show? Let's get into it. We're going to talk about Andor, of course. Quantum Leap. The first episode just premiered. I have not seen it, but Alan Ng has seen it. We're, of course, going to talk about House of the Dragon, Confess Fletch, John Hamm's movie. We're going to be interviewing the director, Greg Mottola, in 2 hours. Greg Mottola, by the way, did a great indie movie called The Day Trippers. He also made a movie you might have seen called Superbad. So Greg Mottola is going to be on the show today. We're going to be talking to him about Confess Fletch. Also, the music documentary by Brett Morgan, Moonage Dream. See How They Run. Don't Worry, Darling, the Olivia Wilde movie. I have a lot to talk about with that film. It's a big, jam-packed Wednesday. Hollywood on the rocks. Let's get this thing started. Let's get going. Let's bring Alan in the room. Where's Alan? Where's Alan when I need him? Let's go, Alan. Come on, get on the. Let's do this. Oh, Alan Ng, how's it going, man?
What good. It's going to be a busy week this week, and award season is coming up, so we've got a lot of movies we're going to be seeing over the next few weeks, and a Fantastic Fest starts tomorrow.
Fantastic Fest, which they're showing some amazing stuff. This is Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas. Yeah. Additionally, what's coming up, Beyond Fest in Los Angeles. A lot of good movies. I'm actually seeing RRR for a fifth time in the theater. Wait, at the TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood. I'm seeing RRR on the big IMAX screen, and director SS Rajamouli will be there. I'm probably going to shoot some footage. I'm probably going to take some video of some of that to share with you. But we have a jam-packed show today. Jam-packed. So let's get to your comments first. I have one quick announcement, and then we're going to launch right into it. And my hope is other people have seen Andor, because I want to know what you think. What do you think about Andor? Who cares what we think? And I also want to clarify something. A little topic that came up on Nerdrotic and whatnot. I feel my opinions are being misrepresented by some folks that say I loved Andor. I never use those words. I said I liked what I see. I say I'm kind of mixed on it. It's a slow burn, and it's a slow burn with maybe some things happening. I'd like to see where it goes. Kenobi, I hate watched. Straight up hate watched that show. Despised it. And Andor, I think it's a wait and see, but I am interested in seeing what's going to happen next. We have episode 4 coming next week, which you and I
feel like it's promising. I'm optimistic. Feel like it's promising, but we've seen these things collapse down the road. This is 12 episodes, and then another 12 after it. So, it's a series. We have to wait and see.
Well, they're committed. Let's get let's go to the chat just to see what people are saying. And I want to hear your thoughts on Andor, because this is a conversation. And conversations, I just want to say, this is a point I tried to make on the Nerdrotic Nooner, unsuccessfully. But there is nuance between She-Hulk is the greatest show of all time. It changed my life. It's amazing. Between that opinion and She-Hulk, I raped me and I hated it. There's something that can exist in between that evolves into a conversation. Most things are in between. There are far fewer things that are great and far fewer things to me that are absolute garbage. I would put Pinocchio, the live action remake that's on Disney Plus right now as probably the worst film I've seen this year. There are others I may put in that category, but that is god awful, an embarrassment, a travesty, the worst. So,
and Kenobi is garbage. Kenobi is absolutely garbage.
Kenobi as a TV series, yes, to me was garbage. Ruined the character of Kenobi, ruined the continuity, and the canon, and I hate that. So yeah, what I like to do is have a nuanced conversation. So lately I've seen people. My hair is freaking out of control. I'm sorry. I haven't washed my hair in like 2 days, and I literally woke up late today, did the nooner, and I'm here. And I made while I was on the nooner at the very end, I was making a cheeseburger, and I made a cheeseburger for myself for my lunch. And I scarfed it down, and I'm sorry we're late today. We're normally not late. So my apologies. We've got 150 plus people watching live. Smash that like button and please subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. We are hurtling closer to 50,000. I'm very excited about that. So slap that subscribe button. Oh, wow. So we can bring you little gems like this.
Finish him.
Oh, my jeans. And what might be even more embarrassing than that was liking She-Hulk. All right, let's get to the look. If nothing else, I have a sense of humor about myself. This is why, Alan, you and I have worked together for years. I think because you also have a sense of humor about yourself.
For the most part, yeah.
And how do I know that? How do I know that you have a sense of humor about yourself? Well, it's very fitting that video plays before we talk about Andor. But let's get to the comments here from people in the chat. Hail to the chat. Thank you for tuning into us. Let's get right into it. A Chernabog, who's a member, thank you for that. Confess Fletch was great. Watch it on acid. Loved it. I loved it too. I thought it was great. Really good.
Yeah, I saw it as well. And
I really enjoyed Confess Fletch. I'm excited to talk to Greg Mottola. I mean, he did Superbad. I can't wait. What I really want to ask Greg Mottola is, could he make Superbad today? That is a question. So get your questions ready for when Greg gets here he'll be here in an hour and 45 minutes at the end of the show. But yeah, I really enjoyed Confess Fletch. I was surprised. Dom T is a member from Nerdrotic to Film Thread, a seamless transition. Alan Horkin, also a member. Andor, liked it. Slow burn like a thriller, has potential, cautiously optimistic. Compare and contrast with The Mandalorian, opened B. I'm with you, Alan. That's pretty much how I felt. I like what I see. Mm-hmm. It's a very different look at the Star Wars universe. And I am cautiously optimistic. So we'll see. Once we get to, we were only about we're a third of the way through. So awesome. Alan Horkin, can't wait for the full review from Chris and Alan. Thank you for that, Alan. John Manilang, my wife's dragging me to see Don't Worry, Darling this weekend, so I'm anticipating the review. Oh, not only will I'm going to give you the review, I'm going to spoil it for you. Spoil it for you.
By the way, John, my wife is dragging me to see it too. I told her,
my God. Should we
unless I had to see it, I'm not seeing it.
Should we save the spoiler review for Friday? Should we save the spoiler? Because not a lot of
I'm not going to see it until Friday, that's for sure.
Do we want? I think we should wait. Chat, let me know. Should we wait for, Don't Worry, Darling? If you've seen the trailer, there's a big mystery. I basically spoiled it on the Nerdrotic Nooner, but it's it's the most anti-patriarchy, anti-male movie I may have ever seen, released by a major studio. And all I can say is this: Olivia Wilde, when she made this movie, you can tell that she was going through something. She was going through a divorce. The whole movie's very anti-patriarchy, all that stuff. But yeah, John, come back on Friday. I want to hear what you think.
But what she heard and what she's seen,
dude. Toxic Waltz N8's a member. Barbarian was no way near on my radar until the word of mouth hit me. What a great film. I know that's already 2 weeks ago, but FT can often be too early in their coverage. Yeah, I've seen it 3 times. Barbarian's one of my favorite horror films of this year. And Nordic Man Demias says, come on, Chris, your hair will be fab. Yeah, I'm not. I need to wash it today. Toxic Waltz on it. I enjoy those channels sometimes, but it's going to be glorious whenever they inevitably crash and burn due to outrage fatigue. But what I'm saying is, like, I watch all those channels, but what I'm saying is that sometimes the conversation is more of like Andor. I don't think that anyone that objectively looks at it could say it's absolute trash, garbage, but it's not a masterpiece by any means, not even close. Okay, so yeah,
I just don't like the us versus them, and it's not just them, but it's us. I mean, it happens on both sides. It's like, why do we have to choose sides? Why do we have to step on one side or the other?
Yeah, I don't really get involved in drama anyways. I kind of stay out of that. I like who I like, and I like different points of view, and I watch a whole lot of them. Jack D. Ripper, yo, Chris, turn off RRR and start the show already. That must have been an early comment. Someone in the chat, always good to see you. Someone has to give who made the thumbnail a huge raise. Glenn, wait, is that someone you know? Someone in the chat. Glenuccio, do you know that person? Hell yeah. All right, Glenn, we'll talk after the show. Let's talk after the show. Jillian N is a member. Greetings, filmy threateners. Jack D. Ripper says, what's up, film freaks? Slap that like button. And John Yarbor for 10. Good to see your hair made it back from dry cleaning. Oh my God. And I did. Oh, you know what I did too yesterday? I was exhausted yesterday. I did 3+ hours of interviews for Film Courage.
Oh, wow.
A whole new set of interviews. Nearly everything I said is going to get me canceled if anyone pays attention. So look for the Film Courage YouTube channel. I think they said they were going to drop one of the videos today or tomorrow, but I did a whole new series of videos. You can tell because I wore a different shirt. I wore I don't know. I still think I look like a schlub, but yeah, that's what can you say? Amanda and Wiki, I came over from Call Me Chado's Andor review. Oh, I'm dying. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I was going to ask you if you saw it.
Oh, I really want to see it. Damn. Really want to see that one. Mike has bad knees. Hello. I'm 2 episodes in on Andor, and it's pretty much just okay. Fair. I didn't see the obvious messaging that some have talked about. We'll probably watch the whole series. Yeah, the thing is this, I'm interested in continuing to watch it. I did not feel that way about Kenobi. I only hate watched it because you wanted me to. Rings of Power, I would be completely happy never seeing another episode of that show. But Andor, I'm at least intrigued enough to continue watching. Gabriel Quiroga for 5. From Nerdrotic to Film Thread stream. I think I'm stalking you, Chris. More confirmation of how awesome you are. I see you on all my favorite channels. Well, thank you, Gabriel. That's great. I love that. Appreciate it. John Yarber for 5. We know you love Andorra. Lol. I don't love it. This is it was like I was watching Tuesday night's main event last night, and I was like, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, who I've watched for years, love his stuff. We don't always agree. I don't care. I respect his opinion. That's the whole thing. But he was saying that I loved Andor, and I was like, oh, I didn't say that. I wanted to message him, but I didn't want to bug him. And then I was in the chat for a little bit commenting, and then people were just roasting me. We're going to do a show just called Roastcast. We'll do a show called Roastcast and just have people come on and roast. But we're only going to read the super chat roasting comments. CD Stein 69 for $4.99. Andor was a little slow until the last 15 minutes of the 3rd episode. So had promised, but we'll have to pick up the pace a little to keep my interest. I agree. I mean, it does kind of amp things up in episode 4 in terms of it doesn't amp things up in terms of an action sequence per se, but in terms of just they're planning this heist. Mm-hmm. And then we get to see Mon Mothma on Coruscant, which there you go. John Wahlbecker for 5. Hard agree on Pinocchio. I love most of the Disney live action films, and Pinocchio was just so sad and awful. Even Luke Evans couldn't save it. Yeah, I could. Yeah, that's right. Luke Evans was in that. But John, hey, sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. That's okay. Diversity of opinion is, to me, my favorite kind of diversity. Marksman of 117B for 199. This is Film Threats reminder to watch The Sea Beast. I started watching it yesterday. And it's delightful. It's for kids. I think it's for little kids, but I haven't gotten I've sort of met the players. They're on the pirate ship. I like the captain a lot. Like, he's just sort of this big stout. But I will finish watching it. Marksman of 117B. Thank you for that. A Chernobog for $4.99 says, I watch all the best stuff on Acid, including RRR Northman, Cobra Kai Season 5, Alien and Aliens. Confess Fletch was a lot of fun. Ham was charming as hell. Yeah, like John Ham was super charming. Like, he'd come in. I mean, we'll get into it later, but yeah, I thought, yeah, just finished Andor. Thought it was great, says Ferd Turgeson. All right, so there you go. Patrick Lemire, I don't always agree with Chris, but I know he doesn't pre-review movies without seeing them. Yeah, well, it just does, like, look, a lot of channels are doing videos on Woman King. And they're not covering the movie. They're covering what's surrounding Woman King. The reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, the
history lesson we're getting all of a sudden.
The new history lessons that we're all learning, which I think is a positive outcome of that film. But I'd like people to see the film, because what's kind of a little disconcerting about it is I just want to talk to people about it. Like I talked to Alan.
Yeah, this has always been the thing I get criticized for the most. Is I don't like to know a lot before going in to see a movie. I just want to judge a film based on what's thrown up on the screen, and I think I'd go mad if I researched everything in detail and listened to every actor and every interview they made and all the stupid stuff they say. At some point, the movie has to be the movie. Right. 50 years from now, no one's going to look at the controversy of, what Viola Davis said or and sometimes you just need to watch a movie to watch a movie.
So go get to the super chats here. A Chernobog for $4.99. If not more than young Chevy won't be around for Mr. Mottola, please ask for me. We will ask this question, so save this question. We're going to save it, A Chernobog, and we do keep up our live streams, and we do spin off like separate interview videos. So yeah, I will make sure we ask that. Ken Bogus for 5 says, just spending 5 to say Pearl is going to be a cult classic. P.S. Love Film Threat. Thank you, Ken. I do believe that as well. I think what'll be interesting is when Maxine comes out, and I believe it's early 2023. So you'll have like X, Pearl, and then Maxine set in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Really looking forward to that. But thank you for the 5.
And isn't Maxine coming out soon or relatively soon?
No, Maxine is coming out next year. That's all they've said is 2023. Let's see. Turo says, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers gave Chris and Film Threat a great, very positive promo push on one of his latest videos. He also did it on Rumble. Much love. Oh, thank you. Yes. No, I saw that. I messaged Jeremy over Twitter. We had a whole back and forth, and he's a stand-up guy. Like my experience of meeting Gary and Ryan and all those, they are people of integrity, and I appreciate that. And though we may disagree on opinions, much love and respect to all of them. And Jeremy, God, I've been watching him for years. And he's a stand-up guy. And also shout out to Geeks and Gamers, but also Sports Wars. I love the Sports Wars channel. We don't talk sports on Film Threat at all, but the Sports Wars channel, if you're a sports fan, love the channel. So there you go. Let's see. John Yarber says the answer to Woman King is Cop Shop. That was a good movie. Yeah, Cop Shop. That was on my radar. It looks like an exploitation movie, and I don't know if we covered it on Film Threat. Alan, maybe you can check.
I don't think we did. That was Joe Manganiello, wasn't it? Or Am I thinking?
Yeah. Shuxy's a member. Always love to talk to Shuxy. I think the talk about history is great. Most people don't know Africans sold other Africans into slavery. They literally thought white men came with nets and all Africans lived in harmony. Yeah, it's I think Don Lemon got a history lesson actually on CNN. Did you see that clip that went viral?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That was
great.
hilarious.
That's classic.
Speaking of CNN, I'm embarrassed to say I was on CNN actually. I don't know if I do this. I have a friend, Rick Damigella. He works for CNN. He does stuff on entertainment. If he ever needs like a conversation, we talked about Avatar: The Way of Water and what my thoughts were on the success of that movie, and what's happened to Avatar as a. I'll put, you know what? I'll put it. I'll post it in our members tab, the video. But like I'm literally on CNN like late at night when nobody's watching, like in the in-between time. So you would never have seen it, like caught it on CNN. It's basically on the website. But yeah. Thank you.
Talked up was Gerard Butler and Frank Grillo.
There you go. Hey,
Sorry.
Diamond Plate says 243 watching, only 130 likes. Hit that like button for two guys working hard to bring us the goods. Alan, did Alan give you some of his Disney money? Says Red Terror 1970.
Yes, I did.
Thanks for the money, Alan.
You're welcome. I did get the Venmo right?
And for fun, are you going to review The Menu with Anya Taylor-Joy? Absolutely. I believe it's out at the end of this month. And we will be talking about, we pretty much try to review all the indie movies that come out. So yeah, there you go. Harry Styles.
November, by the way.
It was November. Okay. We will definitely, we review, like, if it's opening in theaters, we're going to review it. Most of it. Daniel D. Did you take that photo in your car? It looks like he's in a car. Harry Styles interview tells me all I need to know about Don't Worry, Darling. He's kind of a himbo, which is a male version of a bimbo. Not the brightest bulb in the bunch. Ken Bogus, who's a member, only 16-year-old girls who love TikTok drama channels want to see Don't Worry, Darling. You're not wrong. You know what? Last night, I got to take, maybe I'll get on my phone. I actually filmed in the theater when I saw it because it was insane. It was like being at a concert with 16-year-old girls. You're not wrong, Ken Bogus. I hate Google accounts. What is this game playing in the background?
Oh, yeah, Marvel's Avengers.
Oh God.
Yeah, new patch. I'm hooked. I love the game.
All right, those checks coming in for Alan. Shuxy says Chris is on his own side. That's why I like him. Look, I will have an alternative opinion sometimes, but my opinion doesn't fall in like the thumbs up, thumbs down all the time. Sometimes it does. RRR, thumbs up. Thumbs down, Pinocchio. A lot of other things in the middle. So House of the Dragon, I'm really loving.
Yeah, I mean, I think there can be distinctions between good versus great. That good could still be good. It doesn't have to be great. Almost good can also be good as well.
Right. Well, I think well, we'll get to it. I got to get to your comments here. There's a lot of comments. 218, who's a member. This is why I've been getting bored with the neurotic streams. It just circle jerks, it seems. Look, I check in on a lot of streams. I watch the Real BBC, and I don't know. I've just been watching Gary for years. It's like comfort food. I have it on. It's weird because when I'm on the show, I'm actually kind of working. I'm like half working on like emails. I'm texting Alan. I'm talking to him on River or whatever. We're just having a whole, so I'm like working on my couch while I'm listening to the show. And I have an opportunity to chime in. So there you go. Let's see. Patrick Lemire says you have to grade streaming differently than broadcast. The bar is higher. Okay. Says Patrick Lemire. Amanda Nowicki. Film Thread is never late. It starts precisely when it means to. That's true. Shuxy at 50K, Alan will reenact one of the nipple videos in real life. Will you do it, Alan, on the stream?
I think 50,000 deserves a reward and not a punishment.
Yeah, that might be considered.
I know that will keep people from. That'll keep us from getting to 50,000.
Let's see. Toxic Waltz N8. Halloween season is in full swing. Can we get some horror exclusive episodes of the stream? we're going to be talking about a lot of horror films, and especially if you follow our Instagram, it's just going to be all horror films from now through the 31st of October. Fear the Turtle 21 saw Barbarian this weekend based on y'all's recommendation. Knew only the basic premise, and I'm glad that's all I knew. Loved the movie, and it was great to see Justin Long back in a horror film. Yeah, I love the film. That opening like chunk, about a third, that takes place just at the Airbnb with the mix-up. You could cut the tension with a knife. It's so good. The sound design is exceptional. So yeah, and John Yarber for 5 says Alexis was the star of Cop Shop. Amazing. And then let's see, I'm going to get to just a few more, folks, and we'll launch in. The outrage crowd is becoming what they hate. Little by little, it is happening on both sides, says Dempsey. I mean, look, I think it's important to, I think it's really important to get a broad range of opinions. And I do feel there is like, there are YouTube channels that just love everything. And there are YouTube channels that I think at some point, I like to think that there are things out there that are worth seeing. I think Barbarian being one of those things. And then, let's see. Amanda Nowicki says Hocus Pocus 2 is not getting me excited for Halloween. And hey, George Molo gifted 20 memberships. So cash in on those. If you're in the chat, you're not a member. You just, I think it's sort of, what does it do? Like the first 20 to, how does that work? Glanuccio, does Glanuccio know? Glanuccio should, well, we'll figure it out. Nothing but love. Cheers. Chris and Alan says Henry back to play for $9.99. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you, Henry. The sound of one man laughing. Was she heard or was she seen? Nice, Alan. Nice. And here we go with George Molo. Always great to talk to George for 20. Says, all hail Chris and Alan. Never miss your amazing streams. Just found a new Turkish show. What do you think of Magnificent Century series? Hail to the chat and to the brilliant Bat duo. Well, for that, we're just gonna have to show this. I love that video. Okay, so George, I don't know about that Turkish show, but I am a fan of Turkish cinema. So pro tip for people watching here, if you've never heard of Turkish movies, what they'll do is here's what they do. And I used to have a bunch of these on VHS. Now I realize most of them are on YouTube. What they'll do is they take the money shots from big Hollywood movies like Superman or Star Wars or a whole bunch of other Hollywood films. They just take the special effects shots and then they remake the entire movie with Turkish actors. So literally just look up Turkish Star Wars. This may be a rabbit hole you may or may not want to go down. Also exists Turkish Wizard of Oz, Turkish Superman, where Superman like murders people and there's more than one Superman. So they're like completely like not the US versions, but like so they'll use in the Turkish Star Wars, like the battle on the Death Star, when they cut to the cockpit, it's a bunch of Turkish actors like in helmets in the cockpit of like an X-Wing. It's really bad, incredibly cheesy. And there's the Turkish E.T., the Turkish Exorcist. Just look up, and I wanted to make a documentary about Turkish films. Then I found out someone else was making one, and then the doc came out. I don't know that it was that great. But you can find a lot of these movies. Just look up Turkish Star Wars. You'll see clips. You could probably find the entire film. George, I'm not aware of this Turkish show, but I will look into it. Let's get through these real quick. And thank you, George. Always love to chat with you. Got to get you on the channel. John Odom, I don't understand people who aren't just wholesale writing off all of Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and Disney at this point. First of all, agree with you. After Kenobi, I was just like, I just don't care.
There's no hope, yeah.
And Marvel, from the looks of things, when you look at like their lineup, it's kind of, kind of embarrassing.
You're not excited about anything. That's
right.
The problem. I mean, and they've put us in this position for the last 2 years.
I think
it's all mediocre or bad, and it's
right.
Just, what are we headed for? What are we looking forward to?
Well, I'll say with Andor, it's an interesting different tone for the Star Wars universe that we've never seen. That to me kind of feels more like reading a thriller novel or reading a Star Wars novel, and one outside of the main characters, right? John Walbacher says you can have a broad range of opinions without being an outrage monger. Those guys might be your pals, but 30 videos talking about the hyperbolic negativity before a project is out isn't good for discourse. Look, I think it's fine. I think it's fine that those, and I watch those videos, but I like to judge for myself, and I like to see something to have like Harlan Ellison famously said, not everyone, the common phrase, everyone has a right to their opinion. That is untrue. You only have your right to an informed opinion. But there are specific people that I watch, and I think that they do a good job. Ryan Cannell, I'm going to say, is someone I watch on the regular. I like that his videos are short, to the point, and he backs it up with facts, like a journalist should. And he can have his own opinion, and I'm free to agree or not. But I think he's among the best, kind of a natural.
Did Gary wind up seeing Andor, or no?
He did. He watched like 2.5. I think he watched the first 3.
Yeah.
I think he said he sort of fast forwarded to the end with the action scene. He didn't like it. He thought it was, and I feel like we're almost like we're kind of been like wired to like too knee-jerk reaction to like, oh, it's another strong female lead, or the female's going to do this. And it's like, that's not always the case, right? I feel like Andor is more of an ensemble. It's not all on the shoulders of Cassian Andor. I mean, he is an integral figure, but he's in an ensemble. And I think we're going to see more characters die. Alan Horkin, Star Wars is my sports team. They can suck, but I will always hope they win next week. That is, I kind of, you know what? Maybe that's where I am, because let me just say, as a sports fan, I'm from Detroit. So I love all the Detroit teams, right? The Pistons, they had their heyday. The Red Wings, awesome. The Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have never been to the Super Bowl. They've never been to the Super Bowl. So, but I still watch the Lions. I still watch the Lions. So, Alan, that is a really, I like that. I like that. We're just going to do super chats here because we're behind. Sheesh, we're 40 minutes in and we haven't even talked about anything yet. Tommy reviews for 5. Hail FT in chat. Has anyone seen the horror show from Epix called From last year? I have not. It was actually pretty horror show with actual mystery. Oh, I love that horror show.
Yeah, I'm not about to pay for Epix. But...
John Walbecker for 10. You of all people should know the elevated power of content creators on the world of discourse in the fan community. You've been doing it for decades. This isn't just guys hanging out, millions watch. I hear you, but it's like, I just have a different take. I think that, I think if you only watch Star Wars, Marvel, and Disney movies and DC movies, like if you only watch that stuff, that's a depressing road to go down. And I can only sort of focus on my own mission. And my mission is to cover that stuff, but include independent films as another choice, right? It's another choice. So whenever you get on a Film Thread stream, we're going to talk about other movies. Patrick Lemire says Andor is another show that didn't get help by actors running their mouths. The actors are pandering to the media.
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't help.
One actor made a Trump remark, and I'll be honest, I don't see the Trumpian aspects in the show. The boys. I think you could say, The Boys is a response.
The Boys for sure.
Yeah, but in here, they have, again, we've only seen the first 4 episodes, so there's what 20 more episodes where they could bring Trump in, but I don't think he's shown up yet, and I'm not sure he's gonna.
All right. Well, Dempsey says good entertainment will win the day. Bad writing will drive away everyone eventually. We will all go to what we enjoy. And George, the Giant Slayer for 20. When is Star Wars Court? Can't wait to see. Will you be prosecuting Andor? All hail. We do need to do our Star Wars, or it's a Critics Court is a new show that we're going to launch, and we're putting Disney and Lucasfilm on trial for the murder of the Star Wars franchise. Now, when are we going to do that? We're going to be doing it soon. That's all I'm going to say is we're kind of in a reboot of our, we brought in a new producer. He's kicking ass, and we're probably going to need more people to help. Some new mods. We need mods sort of in the chat to help us, and we will be putting on that show. We've been doing some graphics for it. It's going to be pretty cool. Echo Base Network. I found the first 3 episodes boring AF, but fingers crossed it picks up moving forward, holding out some hope there. Maybe a new hope. But yeah, no, it's a slow burn. I will say this. Rings of Power I don't care about. Rings of Power is slow and I don't care. I found Andor slow, but I'm invested in the events that are occurring, probably because it's a new way of looking at the Star Wars universe. I like the idea of we're meeting the blue collar workers that are effectively building starships. It seems, and then we're also meeting the middle management of the Empire, focused on surveillance and whatnot. Like, I kind of like this. It's a part of the Star Wars universe that has not been explored. I like that it's a different tone, and I feel like it's going to take some getting used to. Will it pay off? I don't know. I don't think, and Gary said on the Nerdrotic Nooner, I thought was very smart. He said, Disney doesn't know how to do TV shows. They still have not figured out how to do television shows. And I think he's right. I agree with that. Andrew Eterno just became a YouTube member. Awesome. Appreciate that. Just a few more comments, folks. Patrick Lemire, I can't take another Rings of Power Sucks YouTube show. So many. It does suck, but I feel like we should move on and not give it mind space. I mean, maybe, Alan, we should just review it at the end when it's all over.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I could say is our most watched videos of the last month have been our Rings of Power videos.
Right.
I mean, those are getting the best views.
Well, we may talk about it on Friday. We'll have to do a 3-hour stream. Ferd Turgeson, are people hating on Andor? Yes. People are hating on it. But they're not just hating on it. They're hating on me for liking it. For at least going, hey, this is worth a shot. Not love.
I'm just used to it.
Not the greatest thing ever. Oh, I don't know. Look, I get it from both sides.
Yeah.
Because, I have certain opinions about certain things in the world. I'm just whatever. So John Wallbacker says, it's funny seeing the cyclical hate of Star Wars. It's been like this since the prequels. Does anyone remember the great doc, The People versus George Lucas? Not only do I remember it, I'm in it. I'm in that documentary. That's 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. Yeah, I'm in that documentary. I think it's very good. The filmmaker, Alexander Philippe, has also made some other films worth seeing in the nerd space. And yeah, The People versus George Lucas, interesting doc. I think what's interesting is seeing how the prequels have aged well, where some of the political messaging in the prequels about the creep in of authoritarian rule is kind of timely. I think that, I think what George Lucas was aspiring to do with the prequels, I think that there are parts of there are quotable lines from the prequels. And I don't believe that there's much quotable from the Star Wars sequels. Mm-hmm. And I don't think the Star Wars sequels will age well.
Yeah. And there's a narrative through line. There's a plan when it comes to the prequels, where the sequels, there is no plan. The plan changes again, and then changed again.
Yeah.
Did you get to this one, by the way?
I'm going to get to that last.
Oh, okay.
Right here, someone in the chat says, the soundtrack for Andor is Blade Runner-esque. I can't wait to buy the entire soundtrack once it's out. It might be on Spotify. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll drop, if there's a new show, what I've noticed on Spotify is that they'll drop a few tracks, then they just keep adding tracks as the show goes. So you don't get the entire soundtrack, but you get little tastes. And Sean Who says, these reviews are delicious. And so with that, I have to play a very particular video.
Holy fucking shit. These reviews are delicious.
Thank you, Sean, for reminding me to put up that video. But let's get right into it, Alan. This is our official review. I've been talking to people in the chat for 45 minutes now. Geez, nearly 50 minutes. We haven't even, the show has flown by. Alan, we can now talk about Andor episodes 1 through 4. A lot of other people have reviewed it. Streams talking about it. Let's hear your thoughts on the 4 episodes, and keep it a little spoiler free on episode 4.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just address the boring part. It is a slow burn. There is not a lot of levity to kind of change tones a little bit, so you're feeling depressed a lot. This reminds me a lot of the Marvel Netflix series. I like Daredevil season 1 and 2. I like Jessica Jones 1 and 2, or 1 mostly. But then when it came to the other series, we're looking 12 to 18 episodes, which is what Andor is. The dark tone, the depressed tone. I mean, I get it. Those were hard to get through, and I fear that that's where Andor is headed. It's just going to be a very depressing story, and it's going to drag itself out over 12 episodes. And I think that's the danger it's in. But at the same time, compared to everything else, everything else that's on Disney Plus and everything we've gotten from Star Wars, this is certainly a much better series. It is written well. The dialogue is amazing. I love the characters. I love I love the fact that every character is distinct from every other. It doesn't feel like, they're just throwing people in for the sake of, needing a character for a certain narrative plot. But everyone's got their motivations. Everyone's got their struggle between wanting to either take down the Empire or to save the Empire. And the lines are being blurred. And so I like the fact that there is nuance, there is interesting storytelling that is going on. And ultimately the question is can this goodwill carry itself throughout all 12 episodes? And to that I say we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think if there was ever a chance, Andor has that chance. I mentioned it before. It's unfortunate the way they're cutting these up. I feel like you do have to sit down and watch the first 2 episodes together to get a good sense of what the show is about. Because that first episode just kind of meanders a bit, and I'm not really sure what's going on until that second episode. So again, I think I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm having a good time, but I'm hanging on here. We'll see how it goes.
Well, as I said in my early reaction, I'm mixed on the show because I feel like I've been burned before with Star Wars. Having said that, I like some of the choices that were made that are probably going to upset normies. And those choices are, there's nothing cute. There's even a droid that isn't cute. It's pretty much functional. And I kind of feel like that's how droids would be in real life.
It could be called Siri or Alexa.
Right, exactly. I like the fact that it's an ensemble. So, I mean, Cassian Andor he's the lead, but there are other areas of the galaxy that are being explored. I like the more serious tone. I like that there are no member berries, other than starships. And I want to see where it goes. I want to see, I mean, we're 1/3 of the way into it, but I'm again, like you, Alan, like cautiously optimistic. It's a huge departure from what Star Wars has been, right? There's no humor there. Like I said, there's moments of levity. I like Stellan Skarsgård's character. I think that you'll see that like every character in the show, what's interesting and what's something I really like is that each character kind of has a duality. Every character is hiding a secret, right? Whether it's the secret ambitions of people in the Empire that are trying to work their way up the ladder. I think that's going to be Machiavellian. I think that, you've got the Stellan Skarsgård's character is revealed like to be a dealer of antiquities throughout the universe who has a relationship with Mon Mothma. You're going to see that unfold in episode 4.
Well, and then Cassian, he murders 2 people without any, to protect himself. There's no noble deed behind it. He murders 2 people.
And these aren't just like, masked stormtroopers, right? People.
Yeah.
Right. They're not, and they're not like, so it's, I find it, this is definitely a more adult take on the Star Wars universe, and I'd like to see where it goes, but it has to pay off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I almost feel, and I hope it doesn't get to this, because a lot of the Marvel Disney Plus series have been this, where when you finally see the whole show, you're like, oh, it's just a movie. It's like a 4-hour movie. And so things drag and are stretched out.
Yeah.
And I hope it doesn't feel that way. I'm glad that the episodes are short, 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that was the problem with especially the last seasons of Daredevil and Iron Power Man, Luke Cage.
Right.
It felt like a movie that was dragged out way too long.
Yeah.
And I fear that that's where we're headed with this.
Well, let's hope it's not. I don't know that we'll cover Andor week to week, because I feel like it's gonna unfold slowly. I'll actually leave it to the chat. If the chat would like us to talk about it every week, we can spend 10 minutes talking about the latest episode, or we can just wait until the series is done. I feel like that's a better way to review a series, is to we got to see the whole thing. This is why I think that the Rotten Tomatoes scores always get messed up, because it appears as if, and we're not part of that score, by the way. We're not part of the, we don't really, I mean, we review
we don't do episodics or television.
We don't do episodics or TV, but I look at those scores, and of course they're based on the first few episodes, which are supposed to be the best ones. So I will say with Andor, it had better like amp up the stakes, right? We kind of know they're planning a heist. They're planning a big job. Okay, let's see where it goes. Are we going to lose some people? Who are some people going to die? What's really at stake? Is there going to be people who turn? But what's interesting, what I like about the characters, is they all have ulterior motives. Every single one has like a dual identity or ulterior motives that they're hiding. And so I like that aspect of the show. I just wonder, and I asked this question aloud, if this wasn't Star Wars, if it was generic sci-fi show, would you care? Meaning, just change the spaceships, change like the wardrobe of some of the characters. Do you care? Do you care if it was just some generic science fiction show and not set in the Star Wars universe? And I asked myself that question, and I'm not really sure. I'm not sure that I would be as interested.
Let me ask you this. What if this came out after the first season of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus?
That would be interesting. I think that would be interesting. I think part of it is that like, and Lucasfilm, they seem to be unapologetic with a lot of the mistakes that they make. I mean, probably the greatest mistake, it might be the greatest mistake in movie history, is not uniting Han, Luke, and Leia in a movie. Like, you had them, The Force Awakens should have been the bridge from Return of the Jedi to, the sort of last adventures of Han, Luke, and Leia and Lando. And then it should have been handed off to new characters. That's fine. We get it. But The Force Awakens.
Instead, they retold the Death Star story.
What's that?
The Force Awakens essentially retold the Death Star story as the bridge.
Star Killer base. So lame. Yeah. I'm not a fan of The Force Awakens.
But in terms of, if you had followed The Mandalorian season 1 up with Andor, at least you have a momentum of not so bad Star Wars content coming out of Disney Plus. But then you had, we talked to death about how bad Kenobi was. Kenobi did Disney Plus no favors, and did Andor no favors. I brought no momentum. Yeah,
Boba Fett was. I couldn't finish it. I watched a few episodes, and I thought it was the first episode. I thought was dumb, and the fact that it had his helmet off so often was like, well, who is like what? Yeah, and he even talked too much. That's a weird thing to say, but I believe Boba Fett in the original trilogy has about 4 minutes of screen time. Is it 4 minutes? It's very short, but he left such an impression. There's something to be said for keeping something mysterious. But
Well,
Andor,
I mean, I think the actor had said in an interview that he said that Boba Fett never should have talked, and that the Ming-Na character should have been doing all the talking for him.
Ming-Na Wen,
Yeah,
I like her.
I didn't watch it, so I don't know their the characters' names.
But I think bottom line on Andor is it's a very unique take on the Star Wars universe that I think is going to divide the fandom. What else is new? Star Wars fandom divided. What else is new? It's not for everybody. It's definitely not for kids. I think kids will be bored out of their gourd, whereas I believe kids would like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think it's actually made for kids. That's, I think, part of the weakness of it. Now, here's what's interesting. If the Kenobi series, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, had been like Andor, like a serious take with Obi-Wan never even seeing Vader, having one exchange where they don't have a lightsaber duel, where basically maybe the Darth Vader and Obi-Wan meet, and Vader says something to the effect of, if you ever leave this planet, I will destroy you. If you ever leave Tatooine. Tatooine was a tragic place for Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. It was exile.
You know, it's where he was forced to work retail as a slave from Watto.
So what you're really saying is, if they had made Kenobi better, would it be better?
Well, if they had just changed the tone, I think the tone was awful. I think the breaking canon was awful. I thought the story was awful.
Yeah, the story was everything. The story was the central problem of Kenobi. Everything around it was a side effect of that. The story itself was horrible and could not save the series. You had to rewrite it. Absolutely had to rewrite the entire story of Kenobi.
But are we going to get some member berries in Andor? Are we going to see Watto with a junk dealer? I found this little kid Anakin.
Well, technically, you could get Reva in Andor.
Oh my God, we could. And Jar Jar. I pointed that out. I posted on our
Ambassador YouTube. Jar Jar.
I posted on the YouTube channel. Well, there's stuff on Coruscant with Mon Mothma. Jar Jar might be in the background. Yeah. Just you wait. Just you wait. Here comes. I mean, I think a lot of people are saying they like the fact that there's no member berries. That's what I've heard. But I'm at least interested to continue watching Andor. We're going to go to comments quickly, and then we're going to talk about. We'll talk about Quantum Leap. I haven't seen it, but you have. 8 Chernobog for $4.99. If not, oh wait,
yeah, no, we're saving that.
No, that's the question we're saving for Greg Mottola. Sorry about that. CD Stein 69 for $4.99. Chris, you know you're doing it right when both sides go after you. Sometimes being honest will hurt those that just want an echo chamber. Keep it up. Well, thank you for that. It's just that every time I go to chat with, I'm just like talking to like on streams where I you know, I'm enjoying the conversation, and then people coming after me and fuck that guy and okay, well, all right. I guess that's
read our My Son Hunter comments on Instagram, and then read it on our website, and you'll see both sides just coming after us.
Yeah. Ferd to the Future says, where the F is episode 4? Episode 4, Alan and I saw it's not out yet. It's not out yet. So sorry, Ferd to the Future. We should have been more clear on that. Blah, blah says slow burn can be a good thing. It can be a really bad thing if it doesn't build to something, and if it isn't immersive. Agree. It's got to build. There's got to be like, it doesn't happen in episode 4. You see it's building towards larger events, and those better be awesome. But I really like the look of it. It probably is the best looking Star Wars that has been made from Disney Lucasfilm.
Yeah, and I think you could say it's immersive as well.
Infinite Main for 5 says, not defending the negative reviewers, but people do what sells and they get the highest views. We're terrible at that. As you notice from the Film Threat YouTube channel, like we're just, I don't know. Like I feel like I want to tell you my honest opinion. And, you know, sometimes our thumbnails will get a little incendiary, but mostly it represents our honest opinion. So, yeah, I mean, so look, we're a different kind of channel. So someone in the chat says the world building cinematography for Andor looks lived in and fantastic. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Like it looked better than the Star Wars sequels. This show looked better than that. It felt larger in scale. It felt just like I want to see where it goes. So Solomon Thornton, the show is interesting. I just wish they have used some cinematic device for Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan looks like a low quality show. In comparison, oh my God, Obi-Wan looks like it was made by amateur, real amateurs. I can't even say filmmakers, because a lot of the Star Wars fan films I've seen are great. They're very good.
If you watch Kenobi again, you'll see it was shot under COVID protocols.
Was it?
No one's rarely 6 feet within each other.
Yeah.
The sets have very few people on them.
Otio says episode 1 just stops randomly. I love the return of the British, though. At least the show feels like it's trying to be good. Yes, I was going to say, I didn't mention it before. The British accents kind of feels more Star Wars to me, like that sort of old school. And the casting of even the most minor characters is very good. So, Want Biscuits. If Andor is depressing, that's fine, because then it fits with the realities of the struggle of rebellion. Nothing should be hopeful until Luke Skywalker. That was the point. Want Biscuits. Great point. I love that. Andor sounds like it's perfect for watching on an airplane, says Patrick Lemire. Yeah, there you go. You got a long.
You got a very long flight, yeah.
All twisted up. I won't be happy till I see the Greedo series where he is kind of like Clark Griswold. Oh my God, that would be hysterical. CD Stein 69 is a member. Rogue One didn't have very bright moments, so I'm not surprised by the tone. Only thing I want is at some point it brings at least a glimmer of hope like its predecessor. And Holmes, Greek Geek for 5. Would you still root for your sports team after they call you racist and tell you to leave the stadium? That's a more accurate comparison. I hate to agree with you. But okay, Holmes, Greek Geek, if you go to the community tab on the Film Threat YouTube channel, I posted a picture, and I still have this box of galactic watermelon flavored Jar Jar fruit roll-ups. And I remember when they came out and Lucasfilm was accused of being racist for putting out the flavored galactic watermelon. Look it up. I remember when the stories came out in, I believe it was 1999. But yeah, no, you're right. Holmes, Greek Geek. Yeah, it is disheartening. So yeah, I wish that it doesn't seem like they're listening to the fans in the way that they should. DTX Hero 21 for 1999. I recommend either A, reviewing Andor all at once it's over, or B, review it no more often than once a month. We're expecting some 20-something episodes, so this probably should be judged 4+ episodes at a time like today. Yeah, maybe we should do that, Alan. We'll do, when episode 8 drops, then we'll review, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, and then 12.
And then we'll do 9 through 12.
Yeah.
Thanks, DTX Hero, and thank you for the 1999. I gotta get some more water, Alan.
Okay.
Can you take over? For a
Yeah.
second while I grab some? I have to get a refill. We'll be right back.
All right. Let's go through some more. Fresh news 247. So Han Solo kills a guy in a bar and nothing happens. Well, happened on Tatooine, so that explains that. The thing that kicks off the show makes no sense. We need a clear knowledge of how the law works in this universe. Yeah, I mean, again, I think you do have to kind of expand it, and I don't know if you've seen episode 2 or not, but there are consequences to those actions, and it happens in episode 2 in terms of the investigation. I mean, because episode 2, 3, and 4, you have the law enforcement on whatever planet they're on. Sorry, don't know. But that is a big part of the investigation. Two men are dead, and they think Cassian Andor did it. So there is a payoff in investigation there. But I do get your point. It's like things have to. When you present something in a show, there has to be some kind of resolution to that or consequence to that. You just can't do things for the sake of doing things. And I think, I think this is the exception where it does actually happen. Let's see. Patrick Lemire, Disney had all of that EU to draw on and threw it away and headed off to a story group. to the story group.
Yeah, I think that was a huge mistake. There were so many great stories in the EU. They could have built upon that.
Yeah.
So someone in the chat says, pamphlet of Boba Fett is the She-Hulk of Star Wars. Lol. Disney also had all 3 of Lucas's treatments for episodes 7 through 9 and promptly trashed it. Their hubris is off the charts, says Womp Biscuits. And here we go.
There's a sense that Lucas thought that they were gonna do those with minor edits. And
yeah, he thought that when he was selling it to Disney and putting Kathleen Kennedy in charge, that they were going to use at least his outlines as a guide. My understanding is actually the way Luke was written in his outlines is kind of the model for how Luke is in The Last Jedi. That's just what I've read. It's just what I've read. Not saying it's 100% true, but hey, Film Threat, lots of comments in the chat to subscribe and bring us up to 50,000. YouTube, for some reason, keeps hiding those comments. I smell a conspiracy against Film Threat. Oh my God, I'm dying to do a video that our channel is under attack. I'm dying. When is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? John Wahlbecker for 10. Why can't we accept the nuance that studios and actors that have called out racists and other bad actors are responding to the actual racists and bad actors, not all fans? Why are we not all fansing this? Yeah, that makes sense, but I don't think they are. It's
well, the way they say it.
It's the implication is it's all the fans are racist.
Look, if anyone goes on Twitter, you're going to get a racist comment coming back, or some woke nonsense coming back at you. But you can't say that that's everybody on Twitter. You can't say that's what everyone thinks. You're just calling out the worst of the comments.
I think that even highlighting it actually, I feel like encourages it.
Yeah.
Because it's people getting attention. It's kind of like why they don't, certain types of criminals, they don't show pictures of them because they don't want people to feel like it's a way to get instant fame. But it might be just like in the past when people have said awful things about me, I usually just repost it and then kind of shame the person. Although there's such a lack of people feeling shame about anything these days. You see that shop teacher with the big boobs? Like, where's your sense of shame? Where's your sense of shame or what would be appropriate behavior in front of high school students? Where is your sense of shame and common sense? Make common sense great again. I would really love to see that. But yeah, no, John, that's a fair point. I think those accounts should be reported if they're actual threats. They should be 100% be reported. And,
or worse, why does the mainstream media quote these people, quote the worst of the worst? Why are they getting the attention? Because they'll always put it some tweet of someone who has no followers and that no one knows and no one gives a damn what their opinions are.
Yeah. Pilgrim Media for 2 says with Andor, is it first or second degree homicide?
Second degree.
Second degree. All right.
Yeah, it has to be premeditation in first degree. Right.
Yeah. Turo. Hey, Turo. Turo's a member. We'll check out the stuff in the, I'm going to post that Harry Styles video from Don't Worry, Darling. I'll post it. I'm going to post it. So some more comments here before we move on. Alan Horkin, Twitter is a bad neighborhood. Bad luck if you get mugged, but partly your fault too for being there. That I would agree. I really don't use Twitter all that much. I use it to promote things that I do, but I don't use it. I use it rarely. I should just read what's in my Twitter drafts. I've got like probably 20 different tweets in my drafts that I'm like, well, one day maybe I'll say these things. Amanda Nowicki, I stopped watching interviews with casts of films or TV shows. Smart, very smart. I do the same thing. I try to ignore them because what they say ends up turning me off from watching something else. It's true. And then Shuxy says some of the racist comments could actually be self-manufactured by Disney. It's not that hard to do. Yeah, whenever I look at like people that do that, it's like usually like not a real person. They've got 34 followers. Most of their timeline is retweets. So I'm like, it's people that troll reply. I get a bot vibe from a lot of these people saying these awful things.
Plus, if they can't take criticism, then they can't change. They can't become better. They can't do things better. So that's why they can't take responsibility for the crap they put out.
Yeah. Oh wait, Oteo. The tone was Looney Tunes cartoons. I'm surprised nobody dropped an anvil on Reva. Yeah. The sneaking out with like Obi-Wan with Leia under like his trench coat was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in Star Wars. Period. Anything Star Wars.
Yeah. And did you notice by the end of that episode, her and Kenobi punched the time clock out together?
It was just bad. Bad. Let's get through these real quick. We got like 6 more comments here. Patrick Lemire, I've never seen a screenshot of any of these hate tweets. Same. Where are they? Same thing with Rings of Power. I would not put the use of sock puppet accounts either. It never seems to happen when the film is good. Yeah, when the film is good, it doesn't happen. Luke Skywanker. By the way, I love your avatar picture. That was a picture that came out around early Star Wars PR materials, and I don't think that Mark Hamill ever wore that, right? Am I wrong about that? Hopefully Andor proves to Disney that bringing in great writers is the key to making great things in the future. Tony Gilroy is a great writer. Turo says, I take responsibility for all my bad jokes. Sorry, Alan.
That's okay, Turo. You're one of the good ones.
Nate Winchester, at this point, you wonder why Disney doesn't just hire fan filmmakers to work for them. They have hired, I know, for example, people that I know who like there's an R2D2 Builders Club, and they hired people for Force Awakens from the R2D2 Builders Club to build a lot of the droids in it. So they have gone to fandom before. Also members of the 501st. Someone in the chat says, I've never seen an honest YouTuber with 1 million+ subs. Well, it's just time for Alan and I to be dishonest.
Yeah, we're the first. We'll be the first.
Yeah.
We're almost at 10,000. Or 50,000. Sorry. We're almost at
closing in on 50,000, but our growth is, we're inching up there slowly but surely, all with your help. And we appreciate it. Thank you. Patrick Lemire. Kenobi was written like kids playing with action figures in the dirt. Let's make Kenobi and Vader fight. Yay. You know what it reminds me of? Look up this video after this. The Onion did a video where they interviewed the young screenwriter behind Fast and the Furious. And it's literally like a 7-year-old kid playing with Hot Wheels. And okay, just look it up. It's the Onion Fast and Furious screenwriter. Look that video up, or maybe Glanuccio can find it and pop it in the chat. That is one of my all-time favorite. It is like that. It's literally like someone playing with toys. And Alan Horkins says, I'd watch Andor if it was a low-budget British spy show. It isn't a science fiction action, sci-fi action serial though, like the original trilogy or The Mandalorian. It's I think that's what's going to surprise people. People who continue to watch it. Slaction Hero, do you think the only reason that Kathleen Kennedy is still head of Lucasfilm is because Disney is scared of firing a woman? That is one of the reasons. That, I believe, is one of the reasons. And truth be told, if you look at her track record before Lucasfilm, she's been involved in some of the biggest blockbuster Hollywood movies that you know. So yeah, I just think that she needs to be relegated more to a desk job and have creative directors running the show. That would just be my thought on that. And then,
she should really be looking at the business of Lucasfilm and how it makes money and guiding them in terms of making more money, making collectibles people want to have, and making, understanding the audience and understanding the fans and giving them what they want. That's what her job really should be.
Alan, I heart you.
I heart
you, Alan. There you go. Okay, we're going to pivot for a second here. We're going to come back to your comments, but I want to get your quick take on the first episode of Quantum Leap. It premiered last night.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I know about this show is that the lead actor is Asian.
Yes.
Do you
and
feel?
Is it so hard to believe that the Asian is the smartest person in the room. I mean, come on. Of course he's Asian. He has to be. That's the next logical choice. It's the smart one. Yes. Okay. So I'll just start by saying I've been a big fan of Quantum Leap when it first came out. I love Quantum Leap. I was heartbroken when they canceled it. And I just loved it. And why did I love it? Because of the storytelling. You know, Sam gets put into the body of another person, has to solve their problem. It's a nice sci-fi movie. It had, had morals to the tale. You know, that's what we loved about it. It's the human aspect of it. So, of course, you would think the smart thing to do is just to replicate the best things about the original Quantum Leap and then just bring it to a new generation. And guess what? They didn't do it. They couldn't do it. It's I don't know. This is my problem with these reboots. They don't understand why fans love the show in the first place, and they go in the wrong direction. Because what Quantum Leap is, it's the idea is still there. Ben Song here, he is thrown into the bodies of people within his timeline. They have to figure out, you know, how he can save their past so that he can leap again. That's there. But this time, half of the show is about what led up to it. It's kind of the origin story of the original Sam Beckett project. And so you have a full team. And guess what word I could use to describe this team of people working behind the scenes? Chris, what is that word?
Can I have one guess?
Yes.
Is the team diverse?
Yes, it is. Okay, first of all, if you're a cis white male, I'm sorry, you're not on this team.
Oh no!
So Chris, sorry if I don't know if you auditioned for it, but there was no way they were going to take you because, and so, you know, he's got a strong female lead to kind of, you know, be his I can't remember it. The Dean Stockwell. Why am I forgetting the name? What was Dean Stockwell's character in the original series?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then guess what? We have finally a non-binary co-star in the film.
Are you kidding? Like actually?
Yeah. They is non-binary.
There's a they. So do they use they in the show?
They haven't looked. They haven't said it yet. They haven't used a pronoun yet, but it's bound to happen. There's an Asian security specialist. Ernie Hudson's in it. That pretty much rounds up the team. So again, the reason I watched Quantum Leap were the stories of Sam going into someone's life, changing it, giving us some kind of moral tale. In this one, half of the series is about the technology, the conspiracy, what makes this work. Why did Ben here go into the machine? Because originally it was his girlfriend who plays his opposite him. They were supposed to switch. He decided that he wasn't going to do it that way, and now there's this mystery. And so most of the show is about this mystery, which again violates everything that we wanted from the original. That was so minor in the original series, and yet we're spending so much time on it here. So too much time behind the scenes. They do mention, it's Al. That's right.
Admiral Al Kalavecki.
Yeah. So the end of the episodes alludes to the fact that Al's daughter exists, and that she wanted to be part of the Quantum Leap project, and now they got to talk to her about what happened with the coding behind it. And so again, the heart and the charm of the original series has been gutted, and now we have this.
Do you think? Do you think? Well, so would you recommend it? Are you going to keep watching Quantum Leap?
I'll watch maybe one or two episodes, but I'm not hopeful that this series can't get past itself.
So another franchise destroyed.
Yes, another franchise destroyed. And I don't have any optimism that it's gonna get any better.
Yeah, I just nothing about it. Look, are they gonna do a retarded episode? You know how like the one episode where Scott Bakula looks, I'm retarded.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, it was such bold storytelling to
Yeah.
even go there.
yeah,
You know,
it was.
to leap into a woman and then have to, you know, have to tell a romance story. I mean, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty bold. You know, I'm sure it's going to get woke. If it's not already woke with its diversity team, it will ultimately get woke.
So,
And
so that's my question. Is it woke?
I would say at the moment, it is only woke because of the diversity team, because it checks off the boxes. It exists to check off boxes. The other thing, the problem I have with the show is that, you know, the choice of leaping, I believe in the first series, you know, I believe with all my heart in the first series that there was kind of a spiritual angle to it, that he leapt because there was a greater force causing him to leap into specific people. And that's when you had the evil leaper kind of working opposite him. In this one, they blame it all on the computer. There's no spiritual element to it now. It's all binary, zeros and ones, which that one character isn't. You know, we're putting our trust now into a computer, and I feel like that's going off the original series as well.
Do you think they're going to use the concept to kind of lean into identity politics, where he'll become different ethnicities, so to speak?
You know, I'll say this: if they were going down the path of the original series, they would have to. You know, they have to go into issues of Black Lives Matter, of Me Too, and things like that. And I think we would buy their take of it if that was the path they were going down. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like that's what they're going to do here.
All right, let's go to some comments in the chat about the new Quantum Leap. But it sounds like you're not particularly enthusiastic.
No, I was, because, you know, we're finally giving an Asian a starring role on television after since fresh off the boat. But again, to give him a series like this, I mean, I'm a little frustrated at that point.
Let's get to the comments real quick, and we're going to pivot and talk about some other stuff. Not the Batman. They're going to be like, hey, he traveled back to 1960. People are racist. Lecture time. Mm-hmm. I'll bet the first episode is kind of soft, and then they're probably going to do that.
Yeah. The first episode is about a bank robbery, and that he has to save the life of his friend who was involved in the bank robbery. Yeah. Lubitsch
touched me, says, why remake it if you don't plan to honor the original? Oh yeah, intellectual property. Mm-hmm. Turo says, thank you, Alan. Blah blah says, Willow is about to be destroyed too. That's right, I saw that trailer. It did not look great. Maghaven, it's a literal race to the bottom at this point. Oteo says, Quantum Leap should go back in time and stop themselves from it. Ron
and maybe that will be the final leap home at that point.
Yeah, Ron Cook says Quantum Sleep. Am I right? I guess the good news is people will revisit the original series, says Patrick Lemire.
I hope so.
A. Campbell, I like the idea of shows lecturing me instead of entertaining me. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Did I get Lubitsch touch me? Says no Bakula, no Quantum Leap. Amanda Nowicki says Quantum Leap is going to ruin Joe Montana's football story. I can feel it in my bones. Someone in the chat, Quantum Leap looks cheap like Batwoman, and the green screen is worse than She-Hulk, and that's a low bar.
Yeah, it's a little too slick for my taste too. The whole computer.
Blah blah says I loved Quantum Leap. That's why I don't need to watch this new one. And Shucksy says, where is the black representation in Quantum Leap? Racism.
Ernie Hudson. I think
Ernie Hudson. Okay, I like Ernie Hudson.
Yeah. You know, he definitely brings gravitas. He's kind of in charge of the project somewhat. Or at least the backers behind it.
I like it. Well, let's go into, we're going to switch gears here, and we're going to talk about Moonage Daydream. Moonage Daydream. This is a documentary by Brett Morgan, who is one of my favorite documentary filmmakers. Brett Morgan made a movie called The Kid Stays in the Picture, which used a lot of photographic techniques, which I thought was really innovative for its time. He also made my favorite music documentary ever, It's about Nirvana and Kurt Cobain and his story, and it's all from his personal cassette recordings, his drawings and sketches. He basically, Courtney Love actually gave Brett Morgan access to a storage facility that Kurt Cobain had kept with all of his whole old like notebooks and writings and recordings, and he used that as the basis for Montage of Heck, which is for me, especially if you like Nirvana, one of the best music docs ever made. So I was very, very excited to see a documentary about David Bowie, Moonage Daydream. It's kind of a disappointment, I'm sorry to say. It's way too long. It's 20 minutes or more longer than it should be. You don't really get much of an intimate look at. I mean, it sort of, you, at least they're aspiring to give you an intimate look at David Bowie and who he is and try to explain him. And there's a lot of you see performances and concert footage. That's actually the best part of the film. But when they show him being interviewed by the media, they're just confused. I just think he's a rock star that dresses in weird shit. Okay. There were a lot of rumors about David Bowie, and they talk about that in the film. I think it's one of the best trailers I've seen this year. If you look up after our stream, check out the trailer for Moonage Daydream. That's what got me stoked about this film. But ultimately, I think the film is kind of a disappointment because it didn't get to the deeper layers I was hoping for that I think the trailer kind of teased. And then it shows a lot of the performances, and it shows kind of how his career evolved, but there's no context. It actually may have benefited from a narrator or someone leading you along in the story. The person that's leading you along in the story is David Bowie himself, recordings and interviews and whatnot. So it's kind of like it's part fly on the wall, but it's also like you hear David Bowie talking about who he is, trying to explain his art. And my conclusion is he's just a rock star looking for attention on stage. I don't know that he ever explained it in the documentary in a way that felt satisfying where, wow, I have a greater understanding of David Bowie. I'm just as confused about who he was, after seeing the film as before. Now, I love David Bowie. I love his performances. I did see him in concert when I was in high school. Saw him in concert in Michigan. I believe it was at the Pontiac Silverdome way back in the day. And he, sort of changed his look and kind of renewed his career on MTV in the 80s. So the fact that he's had like a career that spanned decades and changed different looks, even had different sort of types of music. I liked the aspects where he talks about spirituality and sort of life in general and sort of his philosophies about life, his philosophies about creativity. That's where the movie, I think, really succeeds. Where it fails is getting to really know David Bowie, which I think should have been more of the point of the film. That should have been an aspect of it. And even at like the 2-hour plus running time, it feels like we haven't gotten a satisfying answer, right? It's like going to a concert without the final song or something, right? There's like a piece missing to this. If you're a David Bowie super fan, definitely check it out. But I'll say that there are better documentaries that I've seen, including by Brett Morgan, Montage of Heck. If you can find that movie, and first of all, I have that movie on Blu-ray. I bought it used. I cannot find that movie for the life of me. I want to buy it digital. So, in 4K if possible. That movie is inspiring in its creativity. So sort of a non-recommendation for Moonage Daydream, but a recommendation for Montage of Heck, which I think is one of the greatest music documentaries ever. And I love the music of Nirvana and Kurt Cobain's tragic death at 27. You really feel in opposition to this movie, I really feel like you get a sense of who Kurt Cobain was. You read his personal writings. He tells stories into a cassette player. And what Brett Morgan did is he used animation to tell some of these stories. So you really get a sense that like Kurt Cobain was spiraling. It interviews people. So he chose a different style for Moonage Daydream that I don't think helped the film. I think the way his approach to a montage of Heck and exploring Kurt Cobain's life and Nirvana was much better. In fact, now I want to watch Montage of Heck. I think I'm gonna have to watch that movie.
So let me ask you: did you see Moonage Daydream in IMAX?
I didn't see it in IMAX, but I did see it at a screening room with one of the best, like a Dolby Atmos sound system.
Yeah.
So I am actually seeing the movie again, just with our movie meetup group at the AMC Burbank 16. If you would like to join us, I'm there every week.
Yeah, because tomorrow is the last day you can see it in IMAX.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, September 22nd. That's when it's run in IMAX, goes out. The other thing is, Andy Howell, he reviewed it for us on Film Threat. He agreed with you. He called it long, repetitive, meandering, faux experimental, and worst of all, boring. But what I wanted to focus in on was he says that it was trying to be experimental, but it failed at doing that. Does that make sense?
It does make sense because they use a lot of this sort of weird footage of David Bowie that I never knew existed, him doing art projects, all this, a lot of old TV interviews. You'll hear audio of him talking. I don't know where, there's no context for where this audio came from. It's him talking about spirituality and life and kind of like striving. It's sort of it's attempting to be insight into a creative mind and how a wildly successfully creative person, a musician, because I don't think that David Bowie is just a musician necessarily. I think that he's a performer, right? He's, not just a great vocalist. Like there's a lot of things about him that are creative. And I felt like we didn't get much insight into that. That's disappointing. I may have to go see it. I do have tickets to see it tomorrow, but I guess I'm not seeing it in IMAX. I thought we got IMAX.
Maybe I'll try to see it tonight in IMAX.
Yeah. So just for the visual spectacle. Yeah. But the sad part is you will be bored. So I'm sorry to say. So for you,
maybe I won't see it tonight in IMAX.
Yeah. So you Bowie fans out there, yeah. Let's get some quick comments. Hey, Latino Slant. Hey, Chris and Alan. Hey, shout out to Paulie. Happy birthday, sir. Happy birthday, sir. Always good to see you, Paulie. I was up last night at like 3 a.m. I hopped on. I couldn't sleep. Jumped on YouTube and I watched your live stream, but I caught the end. I caught the end of it. So hopefully I can go back and rewatch it. We got to hang out soon. Paulie. CD Stein 69. That's too bad. Love Bowie and how much of a enigma his on-screen and stage persona and how mostly normal I've heard he was away from the cameras. Yeah, he seemed like he was just a normal kind of quiet guy, like almost reserved and stoic. But yeah, the trailer for this movie is amazing. I wish they had made that movie. Yeah, and blah blah says at least they took a chance, attempted something different. I mean, I am going to see it again in a theater because I want to see it with my meetup group. So it's interesting, but I think most people, Andy Howell, who did the review on filmthreat.com, seem to echo my statements. Not the Batman says Bowie is already on record saying that him in the 70s saying he was gay, then bisexual was the biggest mistake he ever made because he wasn't. Yeah. Yeah. No, he ended up getting married and had kind of a somewhat normal life. He even talks about that struggle of having a marriage and a creative life. Peter Puffer says, I didn't really know about Bowie's half-brother. Apparently Bowie's brother was a big influence on him and spent most of his life in a mental hospital. Fur to the future, it doesn't get dark. Not really. It doesn't get dark. I don't think it does. I love documentaries, but if they go longer than an hour, I start checking out because it feels like the director is just repeating himself. A man in a wiki says, well, good thing that Attack of the Doc, my documentary, comes in at 88 minutes. And there is a post-credit scene after the credits. I wanted to use every minute of the movie. So Zachary Bloom seems rare for Chris to be disappointed in a doc. Well, the reason for that is if I don't like a documentary, I really don't like to waste time talking about it. But yeah, no, I was disappointed in this. And again, if you're Bowie's super fan. You're gonna have to see it. But yeah, Patrick Lemire says, I saw the Moonage Daydream trailer in IMAX. It looked gorgeous. It does look gorgeous, but the flaws are still there. Jeff, did it include the fake suicide note she wrote for him? I don't remember that. So there you go. Anyways, we're going to switch gears here. We're going to talk about something else. We're going to talk about a caper movie called See How They Run. Alan, did you see How They Run?
I did not. In fact, I didn't even know it was out.
Well, See How They Run is kind of run and went. It was in theaters. I mean, I think it's still in theaters, actually. Yeah. It's Sam Rockwell and Saoirse Ronan is the sort of dutiful junior. She's sort of a junior on the team that joins the Sam Rockwell detective character that's trying to solve a murder in London, the murder of a film director who basically pissed everybody off. And the film director, played by John Turturro, is murdered horribly at the very beginning of the movie, and then it's sort of tracing the steps of all the characters, and every single person in the movie has some motivation to want to kill him. Sam Rockwell, as the detective, is kind of a drunk, but he's got a good instinct. Saoirse Ronan as the kind of sidekick that he's saddled with this woman who is jumping to conclusions constantly and whatnot, and he's kind of annoyed by her. And don't worry, it's not her leading him. He's clearly in charge. For those of you who might be concerned about that kind of thing, just let you know, it's not that kind of movie. But I did not love this film. I felt that it's first of all another movie that has a great trailer. The trailer looks hilarious, and I do love Sam Rockwell, but it kind of lost me by the third act. Once it's revealed who the killer is, I just thought it was sort of your typical whodunit, and I was disappointed by this film. I wanted to love it because I thought the trailer was great, and also Sam Rockwell. God, man, Sam Rockwell. First, remember seeing him in Galaxy Quest, and everything that guy does is you can't really predict what he's going to do in his performance. I love that about him. Like, his choices as an actor are not the traditional thing that you would think. But I found this film to be something of a disappointment. It felt like a movie that if I saw it on streaming, I'd think, it's okay. But wasn't super taken by it. And actually, at the end of the day, kind of disappointed. I can't recommend See How They Run. So there you go.
I mean, I'm surprised because I didn't even know this movie existed until I looked at my AMC app on Friday. And actually, I think I was actually at the AMC and I saw a poster for it and it was there. But I feel like there's, until Black Adam shows up, I think film studios are dumping movies right now.
They're dumping movies that may have been better if they were on streaming. Like, on streaming, I kind of feel like your expectation is lower. So I've seen, like, this is weird lately. I've seen movies on streaming that I think, why was this not released to theaters? A movie that I would point out, 13 Lives. I think 13 Lives, directed by Ron Howard, that should have been in theaters. Amazing film. Like, incredible. And it earns its north. If you're going to have a movie that's north of 2 hours, you got to earn it. And 13 Lives earned it. See How They Run, that should have been on streaming.
But I mean, I can see from a studio standpoint, streaming isn't exactly like the box office release. You're not going to make that much money. And at the same time, I understand why they're not advertising it now, because they don't want to incur that expense. And so maybe they're feeling like people are so desperate to go to the theater, they'll just see anything that's new. And so maybe they'll get enough views to at least recoup some of their money back.
Yeah, let's go to the comments here real quick. Patrick Lemire, the good thing about lack of movies is open screens for indies. Mm-hmm. That's true. I think Barbarian is going to stay in theaters a little longer. Barbarian hasn't dropped that much. Barbarian's been doing very well at the box office.
And even Top Gun for that matter too.
Yeah, same thing with Top Gun, or like all these re-releases. Avatar is coming out to theaters this weekend.
Yeah.
In 3D, kind of a new upgraded 3D.
3D IMAX and 4K.
Yes.
And if you're lucky, high frame rate too.
Is A24 the new Miramax? Better. A24 is better because I believe that A24 has more eclectic taste. A24 will release science fiction and fantasy films. There's a sci-fi movie. I'm trying to get the director to be on the show next week. A movie called Vesper. Look up Vesper. It's from IFC, and trying to arrange the director a week from Friday.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, A24 I think is better because they have phenomenal taste. Spaceman. This looks like they tried to make a Wes Anderson movie. Sam Rockwell's a great actor. He was great in Moon. Yes, I love Moon. Moon is a really tragic science fiction movie. Ugh. Alan Horkin says, see how they run. Anyone compare it to Knives Out? No. I actually enjoyed Knives Out. And Knives Out 2, the sequel, Glass Onion, looks pretty good. I know a lot of people don't like Rian Johnson. I just don't care what he says on social media. A lot of people don't like him because of public statements he's made and things he's said on social media. I tune that shit out. Same thing I tune out like Kevin Smith. Like I have to like be made aware of something that's said that is irritating, but so it's not even close to Knives Out. Knives Out was clever, great twists, really great ensemble cast. I think Glass Onion looks even the trailer for Glass Onion looks even better. I don't know.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
The mystery, is it a mystery you can solve, or is it a mystery that just sort of unfolds?
It sort of unfolds and it's kind of obvious. And well, I wouldn't say obvious, but it's just like, I feel like I've seen this movie done better.
Right. But in terms of if you follow the story, you can figure it out. Like there are actual clues you can find, or is it just, you're picking which one you think it did it actually?
Well, look, Andrew Eterno says felt pretentious and trite. And All Twisted Up says, I'm on a phone call, so I have your sound off. The visuals would be way more interesting if plungers were involved. Are you trying to bait me? Are you trying to bait me? Gotta get it in a few times.
You're pandering to the audience now.
I'm pandering to the audience. I love murder mysteries. Knives Out was a pile of crap, says 8-Bit Snake Boy. Fair enough. Again, your mileage may vary. This is I thought it was entertaining. I like Chris Evans and kind of, the character that he played in it. And there you go. I like John Turturro. He's such a fine actor and underutilized by Hollywood. He's like the great actors from the 40s and 50s. Love Sam Rockwell as well. He's great in everything I've seen him in, says Jeff. And isn't See How They Run an adaptation of The Mousetrap, says Pete Dencat. Pete Dencat. I don't know. Yeah, Patrick Lemire says they don't like him because he broke Star Wars. I would say that JJ broke it before him. I just think there was no creative visionary like, a George Lucas. George Lucas, I feel like the best Star Wars movie is the one where George Lucas was in the correct role, which was as executive producer, which is The Empire Strikes Back. Most people agree it's the best Star Wars film. He did a lot of the second unit. He supervised a lot of the action sequences and effects for The Empire Strikes Back. He came up with the story, but other screenwriters wrote the screenplay for The Empire Strikes Back. I don't know why they did not utilize George Lucas in an executive producer type of role, kind of overseeing things creatively and allowing other directors to come in, and Kathleen Kennedy can just make sure the trains run on time. So there you go.
According to Wikipedia, it is meant to be an adaptation of The Mousetrap.
Cool.
And I believe it was written in 1953. That's what Wikipedia says.
All right. 8-Bit Snake Boy, gotta laugh. The plunger never fails to put a smile on my face. Cheers, Chris. Great. War Monkey is a member. Thank you. I figured out the plot for Knives Out just from the trailer and what I know about Ryan. Lol. Well, fair enough. Anonymous. Most British detective or murder mystery series are better than anything Hollywood does. Well, look, if you've got like the AMC A-list, which I happen to have, I have the app. Like, if there's nothing playing, just go see. You can see 3 movies a week, and other movie theater chains have similar, have something that's similar. So Lubitsch Touch Me says, so it sounds like it isn't bad, just mediocre. It's just like a lot of things. My nuanced opinion, it's meh. It's meh, and that's okay. But yeah, blah blah says, I love Sam Rockwell. Don't always love the movies he's in, but usually love his roles even when the film stinks. True. Sam Rockwell's great. The movie, not so much. Not the Batman. I believe John Turturro would be the kind of movie director everyone would want to kill. His character is such an asshole. He and Sam Rockwell are kind of the standouts. And John Orchard for 5, also a member, says, thanks, you guys. Thanks for the indie movie reviews. Yeah. That's our job. We're gonna review the movies that no one else is gonna review. That's our mission. It's our job. We're gonna see The Woman King. I can't believe I was getting shit in one of the chats. I was just like hanging out in a chat, and people were like, "Oh, Gore, he liked The Woman King." Like, that's an insult. It's like, well, why don't you see it for yourself? Don't take my word for it. Go see it and then dislike it if that's what you're predisposed to do. Ugh.
Now you know how I feel.
You know what? I'm not posting in chats anymore. I think I've learned my lesson. Because I feel like I just derail it. Because then it ends up being a battle of people who like me and the people who dislike me. And I'm like, I'm just enjoying the stream like everybody else. I'm just enjoying the stream, enjoying the conversation. But I'll make a comment on something, and then it's yeah. So F it. Thank you, John. Skogli Jotun for 5. Knives Out guy that takes morphine every night to sleep. Can't tell that he hasn't taken a lethal overdose of morphine. Yeah, okay. Look, any one of these murder mysteries is going to have like little loose ends. And the like button needs more slaps. All right, fine. I get what you're asking for. We can accommodate.
Oh, wow.
And you know what? These reviews, they're absolutely delicious.
These movie reviews are delicious. Film Threat sucks.
That's what I get all the time. Film Thread sucks. I'm sort of whatever. And then let's see. Paulie, Alan Plunger Nips one more time for my birthday.
Only for Paulie.
Oh, for Paulie,
100%.
100%. Yeah. Here we go. We got to make a video for members only that is just that on a loop for like 2 hours. I could make the video. You can make videos go on a loop. So I could make a video of 2 hours of just Alan doing that and just put it for a members only video.
Again, the idea is to increase membership, not decrease it.
Exactly.
There you go.
And yeah, one last comment here. Oh, we got a couple of comments, but let's get to them real quick. Mexican Iron Man for 1999. Chris, I have loved you and been a fan since your TV days. Don't worry about these haters, folks. It's Paulie's birthday and he needs more Alan Nippy action. You'll get it. You'll get it. I promise. Amanda Nowicka sobbing hysterical into the camera. Leave Chris alone. Leave him alone. No, look, I don't care. It's just that I feel like my presence in a chat ends up derailing the chat, and I don't want to do that. I feel like the chat should be focused on the conversation, I don't want it to be about me. Okay. I just want to be a person that goes into a chat and I have comments like everybody else, but then it turns into a thing where, oh, Gore is in the chat and then whatever. So you just need to get Adrian Curry to say something after you do. Then the chat will be distracted by her. Batman. And then Turo says, Paulie, are you kidding? It's my birthday too. Want to see Chris hit the pole? Fine. We're going to do that. Where's that video? Somewhere. Hey, happy birthday to both of you, Turo and Paulie. And John Orchard is here. I write indie books. Thank you, Chris and Alan. I saw your video on who villains die and not who to kill heroes. I remember that when I write. Yeah, there's hero's death is very important. That scene is very important. Now, before we move on, Greg Mottola is going to be here in about 7 minutes. I want to do something really quick. I'm going to share screen here with it's a Kickstarter campaign for an audio book made by a comic book artist. Go to Kickstarter.com, look up Philippe Cogno. Philippe did this Western comic book series called The Few and the Cursed. He's doing an audio book. It's just a couple days left. What is it? 50? Should I refresh it? Or it's got 53 hours left to go to back this project. The reason I'm bringing this up is that Philippe did a solid with us when I was looking to relaunch Film Threat. Philippe shared our campaign and did a lot to help promote Film Threat to get us over the hump. This was years ago, and I just really thank him for that. So I wanted to give a shout out to his campaign, The Few and the Cursed. I even think I have a video here that I could play for you. It's just a couple minutes. Check this out. And then Greg Mottola, get your questions ready for Greg Mottola for Confess Fletch. Check out this short video. Well, there you go. Just want to do that because Philippe did a real solid for us at Film Threat and helped us out. So, and I back like comic book campaigns all the time. This is interesting because it's a music and kind of audio experience, and it's cheap. So I put I put it in the description. I put it in the chat. So yeah, I love stuff like that. I buy a lot of indie comics on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I bought the Rippaverse comic, Esam #1, which I think is coming very shortly. But
yeah, I think they ship next week.
Yeah. So Greg will be joining us shortly. Let's go through some chat questions here. Let's go through some chat questions here before Greg joins us. Very excited. Dempsey says, that looked amazing. Seriously, we'll check it out. Go just the last days of the campaign. Shucksy, she won't be a ginger if they do a live action version. Possibly. Samples, fuck sound clearance. Chris Gore from G4 is how I first met him. Great times. Attack of the Show, if I remember correctly. Yes, that was me. I was on the old G4, just to be clear. Was on the old G4. And Retro Nerd Girl, always good to see you here. Wow, that looks amazing. Yeah, he did another comic book that God, why can't I remember the name of it? I'll have to go to Kickstarter. But it's this great comic. It's a science fiction comic about it's set in the future, and what it's about is people whose dreams end up becoming entertainment. So it's kind of like Netflix for dreams, and there are all sorts of people around the world that are famous for their ability to create amazing dreams. Philippe is incredibly creative. And we have Ferd to the Future says, I killed Ferd Turgeson, by the way. But let's get right to it. Let's get right to it here. We have an amazing guest with us today who's going to be joining us. You know him. He began his career with the film The Day Trippers. If I recall correctly, that movie was at Sundance. I don't know. Greg is going to tell me. He's going to correct me. That movie was at Sundance. Also, he made one of your favorite comedies, Superbad. He made Superbad. And he also has a new film out. It is in theaters. It's also on, you can get it on video on demand on iTunes, I believe, and Vudu. And Greg Mottola is joining us here on the show. Greg, thank you so much for joining us on the Film Threat livecast here.
I should say it's in theaters as well.
Yes, that's right. It's in theaters.
My pleasure, Chris. It's great to be here.
Yeah, cool. So tell us about, first of all, thank you for all your work in the past.
You're welcome.
Superbad is that, before we talk about Confess Fletch, which Alan and I both loved, enjoyed, really fun comedy. John Hamm just nails it. Such a likable character in it. Superbad is one of my favorites. Do you think you could make Superbad today?
I have been asked that before. I think once by my children. I don't know. I mean, there was a minute where I felt like people are trying to cancel that movie a couple of years ago, where they're like, yeah, these kids their plan is terrible. It's, to me, one of the reasons I loved it, because I saw a table read while I was doing a Judd Apatow show, Undeclared. There was a table read with Seth Rogen and Jason Segel reading the two lead parts. And that was a good 3 years before Superbad got made. And I thought, this is so authentic. This is so the way kids actually talk. And to me, I always thought they're navigating, horrible male behavior. They're trying to figure out, how to deal with their insane hormonal thoughts and be good people. The thing that cracked it completely is when Jonah came in and played that guy as saying the most horrible things imaginable, but clearly with a look of terror on his face. Like, he obviously knew nothing about sex and women or any of it. He's not a bad guy. So, I could see people going after it for content, but I feel like they'd really be missing the point. I'd like to think they'd still make it.
Yeah, I think what they'll do is they'll probably do the female version of Superbad. And that could be kind of Booksmart was a little bit like that, felt that way.
Sure.
So, now tell us about Confess Fletch. You're bringing back the Fletch character. John Hamm, just in my opinion, I think you picked the right guy. I think he's channeling a little bit of Chevy Chase's performance, somewhat, a little bit of that, adding a completely fresh spin on it, and he just knocks it out of the park. How did this whole project come together?
Well, it's luckily John's the one who came to me. We'd worked together, we're friends. He said, would you ever do a Fletch movie? Miramax approached me. They own the rights to all the books but the first one. And what they didn't know is that John, when he saw the first Fletch movie, saw in the credits it's based on a novel. He's like, I want to read that novel. I love this. So he read the novel, then found out there were other novels. Oh, it's a series. So then he went and stole them from a Walden Books. He was a teenage larcenist, and it was like a fantasy in the back of his head. Oh, wouldn't it be amazing to play this character? Obviously, other people have tried to get these made, and for whatever reason, they haven't happened, which is a shame. I would love to have seen all those versions. And so John came to me and said, would you do it? I knew the books. I knew of the books. I heard they were great. I'd never gotten to them. I love detective stories, so that's my bad. So I went off and read them all, and they're fantastic. And the one that John wanted to do was Confess Fletch. And, we spent some time saying, are we going to get crucified? Because, there's certain characters, fictional characters like Dashiell Hammett or Raymond Chandler's Philip Marlowe was played by Humphrey Bogart and Elliot Gould. He's been played by 15 actors. Fletch has only been played by one actor, and it's a very indelible performance. And I love it. John loves it. And John's like, I can't imitate him. We'll pay homage and we'll have some of the spirit of it. And we thought, yeah, we're crazy enough to do that. So we did.
Well, he really nails it. And he's just so, I just like John Hamm just as I think that he's awesome. What was it like you're friends with him? What's he like to work with? It seems like it was fun to make this movie. And in addition, I have to compliment you. All the side characters are amazing. Kyle MacLachlan's character and all their idiosyncrasies are hysterical. So I think that those just really made the whole thing, especially the police captain.
Oh yeah, Roy Wood Jr. He's fantastic.
He's great. He's great. You're getting a lot of love in the chat here. Would you mind taking some questions and some comments from people in the chat? Someone's asking when it's out. It's out now. It's in theaters. Confess Fletch is in theaters.
Yeah, it's not the most marketed film in the world. We live in a brave new world of, is it straight to streaming mostly? I don't know, but yes, it is in theaters briefly.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot on the show. It's like in the movies that it's like the movie 13 Lives by Ron Howard. Why was that not in the theater? Why was that only? And then there's some movies I see at the theater. I'm like, this should have maybe been on streaming. Yeah, but people are saying X douchey McDouche X. I love our username here. Super excited to see this. Fletch is so great. Blah blah says Chevy Chase just made Fletch in so many ways. I have a hard time imagining anyone else playing it. John,
I get that.
Yeah.
But I get that. I feel like he made it his own. That felt. I imagine that's what John Hamm is really like.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you read the books, he's not quite the way Chevy played it. Chevy brought his comic persona to it. And one thing I love about Chevy's version is he plays it like he walks into a room and confuses people so much that he gets them to tell him what he wants or do what he wants because they just don't know what the hell's going on. It's almost like the Marx Brothers. It's just that confusing. And he's so funny at that. But that's not really the character in the books. And in the books, the secondary characters are quite funny. In the Fletch movie, it's really like everyone else is straight man to Chevy, which works beautifully. But in this version, John sometimes is a straight man to them, and they're sometimes straight. It moves around more. It's closer to the books.
Latino Slant says, can't wait to see this movie now. Otio says Fletch was fantastic, and John Hamm nails it. Funny and interesting the whole way through. Portland 182 says, how did you get the amazing cast for Adventureland?
I knew Bill Hader, obviously. He knew Kristen Wiig, so I begged them. I went to Ryan Reynolds and begged him, and he wasn't sure he wanted to do it, but I showed him a couple of movies that inspired the script, and he was like, okay, I'm in. And I was a fan of Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart. The funny thing is we did Adventureland before the first Twilight, but we came out after the first Twilight. I just remember the director of Twilight came to our set in Pittsburgh to audition, to give Kristen her last audition. And one morning she came in and said, yeah, I got that vampire movie. No big deal. That's not going to launch you into superstardom or anything like that. But I'm good at begging.
Thank you for Superbad, says JTPRX. Andrew Eterno says, I was in high school at the time and it was pretty accurate. Talking about Superbad. John Hamm seems like a solid dude, says Patrick Lemire.
He is.
And then Ferd to the Future says, Greg, please tell us the truth about how Michael Cera is on set. Videos of him freaking out and rumors show that he is an a-hole. Is that true?
I don't know if I want to ruin this, but no, it's not true.
Yeah.
This little shit we did to amuse ourselves. And then they had him, you know, in Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg's movie. What was it called? Brain fart. The one about the end of the world. Michael Cera played himself as a total like coke-fueled maniac. No, I just worked with Michael on a little side project a couple of weeks ago. He is the nicest human being alive. I hate to ruin it.
This is the end. That was it.
This is the end. Yeah.
This is the end. Yeah. Which was hilarious.
The Holy Moment says Superbad is still the hardest I have ever laughed at a movie. Ryan Landis says today's version would have to be kind of bad to pass. Pete Dencat says Superbad is so good. Love that film. You're just getting a lot of love here. Solomon Thornton.
It's nice.
Hello, Sir Greg. Love Superbad. One of my favorite comedies.
Can I ask you, like, just the adaptation process? You have a novel, but you have to condense it to 90 minutes, and you do modernize it to today. Is that kind of a monumental task, or what is the secret behind that?
Well, I mean, the good thing about Gregory McDonald's Fletch novels is they're so dialogue driven. I mean, they really move. Yeah, there's a lot of things I couldn't use. There's like a character that people who've read this book really love called Flynn, who's an Irish detective who lives in Boston, who's spun off to 3 other books. We did not have the rights to that character. So I created Roy Wood's character, Slow-Mo Malone. And yeah, it's, I was so into it. It seemed daunting at first, but then when I started doing it, I was just enjoying it. Another writer took a first pass. I felt he didn't use enough of the book, and it was a little too much like a Chevy version. He was like putting in having the fake names, famous people, and some of the stuff that I feel like that's Chevy's. He did that. That was his joke. I don't feel right stealing it. So I went back to the book and grabbed characters and said, well, what's the equivalent in 2020 for this kind of person? And like, let's make fun of influencers, stuff like that.
CD Stein 69 says John is an underrated comedic actor, and as a fellow St. Louis guy, love to see he's repping us as well. Any chance on you and him continuing this series?
Well, this release is very tiny. They did not spend a lot of money by design. It's hard for medium small movies. They decided like, we'll dip it in the theaters, but it's really a on demand and then to Showtime release. So I don't know how when you get behind the curtains of streaming, who knows what the money is? Will they think it's worth making another? All I know is Miramax has been insanely supportive, and they've hired me to write a sequel. So there's another book called Fletch's Fortune that I've started adapting.
That's good. Okay. it feels like it could be a series to me, a new series with John Hamm.
The books are great. There's so much to mine there.
Wow. Luke Skywanker says, can you ask Greg if he's a Godfather 1 or Godfather 2 guy?
I'm a Godfather 2 guy. I love the first is brilliant, but I love the De Niro parts. I love the Cuba part. There's so much. It's just, yeah. I mean, it's a hard choice, but I at the end of the day, I go 2.
Let's see. I'm going to go through some of these. You got more questions than we're going to have time to get to. But Tino Slant says, Greg, have you seen Plan B? Lots of folks call it the female Superbad. Well, I did in my review. Huge fan of yours.
I've heard of it, but I have not seen it. I heard it's great.
Cool. And let's see. Tom Siebert says, saw Confess Fletch and thought it was better than either of the Chevy Chase movies, closer to the books. John Hamm, expertly cast, laughed so hard at that kitchen scene in the 3rd act.
Tom, I think Tom might be my publicist. Fake name. No, I love you, Tom. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
JTP RX says, do you poke any fun at any woke issues of today?
Well, I think I poke fun at like the influencer character. Those kind of people, I think, are often on the right side or have the same. Let's say they have the same politics I do. which are, I will fully admit, on the Democratic side. But they also are so tone deaf about, like, everything they do is about money, selling to people with money, making yourself beautiful if you have a ton of money. And that's a side of, a kind of limousine liberal that I think deserves a kick in the shins.
There you go. And then Solomon Thornton asks, any other classic comedy films you'd want to try?
I don't know. It's pretty scary trying to take on a movie that everyone loves. I do love detective movies. So that was part of the excitement of this. I would, if someone wanted to bring back the Thin Man movies or something, I could be into it. And, if Lucasfilm, they have my number. If they ever want me for anything, I'll be there.
Lubitsch touched me as, what's been your favorite project you've worked on?
I've been really lucky. I mean, we had way too much fun on Superbad. It should have turned out really terribly, because I often hear, like, if you're having fun on the movie, it's not going to be good. But we were just, like, in a groove, and the studio was just supportive and leaving us alone. And, we just had Judd to block any bad notes. I'd say that was probably the most fun I've ever had on a movie set. But, I did this crazy movie with Larry David, Clear History, which was all improv. And to do a movie that's all improv is nuts. But that was amazing. But Superbad was special.
Glanuccio asks, how much ad-libbing do you allow?
It kind of depends. I mean, I think on Superbad, obviously, there's great stuff in there that the actors came up with in the moment. It's probably a little less ad-libbing than some of Judd's other movies, but, it was definitely something we made time for. On this movie, we had 40 days to shoot Superbad. We only have 30 days to shoot Flash. So I, just couldn't do as much as I might have. But when you have someone like Annie Mumolo playing the crazy neighbor, yeah, you let her loose. You let her off the leash and go a little nuts.
Vamp King says, would you work with Jonah Hill again?
If he'd return my calls. No, I'm kidding. Yes, absolutely. Jonah's a genius.
That's great. And then let's see, you have so many questions here. Dempsey, if you had the choice, which IP would be your dream project? Would it be established IP or one of your own creation?
Well, I try to do one little personal indie film every decade, and I wrote one, and that's the thing I would most like to make next. It's just, like an A24 sized movie. That would be really fun while I'm trying to figure out the next Fletch book. As far as, like, existing IP, that's too hard to answer. Like I said, the Lucasfilm people have my number.
Tony Bowers for 5 says, hearing the history of how this came together turned me around. Loved Chevy's super flippant Fletch and assumed this reboot would be terrible. Sold. It's great. It's great. We were talking about it when we started our stream a couple hours ago, how Confess Fletch just really surprised us. And I just love John Hamm. He's like in a series of commercials where he's very funny. He plays himself.
Yeah.
For Apple.
The flow, the progressive, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a very dry sense of humor. He likes the absurd. It's like I think there's a lot of people that wish, when they heard it conceptually, thought it should be someone who's more in the style of Chevy as an actor, as a comic. But I think it's good to be slightly different, because no one could ever do it as well as Chevy did his version. So it's got to be a new version. Yeah, John's a funny guy, and he's obviously very charming, but it was also fun to make him look foolish. I made sure to have him fall on his face and be wrong about stuff, because who wants to watch John Hamm be right for 90 minutes? I mean, come on.
And then after this movie, one of the benefits of it is John Hamm will finally be on OnlyFeet. So that's going to be, I'm pretty sure that's going to, there's a whole thread where he likes to have his shoes off. It's funny.
Yeah, that's in the books. I took that from it's a weird thing in the books. I thought, okay, let's put it in the movie. I don't really understand it, but I think it's funny.
He made it work so well. A question from earlier, A. Chernabog for $4.99 says, if not more than young Chevy won't be around for Mr. Mottola, please ask for me. Are you glad Kevin Smith never made his version? Also, no Ted Underhill.
I have answers to both of those. I would love to have seen Kevin Smith's version. The Kevin Smith's version was a prequel, so it was young Fletch, and one of these days I'll get my hands on the script. I want to read it. No, the only reason we had a Ted Underhill joke in the first 5 minutes of the movie, but then found out from legal that the character's name, we could only use characters that were mentioned in all the novels but the first one. But Mr. Underhill is named in this book called Karaoke Fletch, which is a direct sequel to the first Fletch book, but his name was Mr. Underwood. And that would be just weird to do an Underwood reference.
Jeff asks, I'm completely open to John Hamm's interpretation of the character, and I know it was in good hands with you. What was the biggest challenge in making this film?
Besides panic attacks about doing it, we had to do it fast and cheap to some extent. Not as low budget as something like Adventureland, but it was 30 days seemed really short for what we were trying to do. At the same time, that's the way the business has gone. I've gotten some good practice working super fast. When I did the pilot for the TV show Dave, they gave us 5 days. You used to get 10, 15 days for a pilot. It's just crazy. Things have changed. That was a challenge. But the reason we could do it is because the studio let us do our thing and didn't mess with us.
CD Stein 69 asks, we need a Superbad sequel where all those kids are parents. Would you ever return to that series?
I feel like Judd is the only one who once every 5 years brings up the idea, and Seth and Evan Goldberg say no.
Oh, really?
they just
leave it as it is.
They want to leave it as it is. It's an interesting thing. There are movies that have sequels that no one even thinks about. Who thinks about Jaws 2? Who thinks about More American Graffiti? That exists. There's a sequel to American Graffiti. No one watches it. So if it stunk, it could go away, but you don't want to.
I know we have to wrap up soon. Can you stick around for a couple more questions?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Great. Peter Puffer says, I love Keeping Up with the Joneses. I miss Zach Galifianakis in live action. Does Greg know if Zach is retired from live action?
Zach is, he loves stand-up. I think he likes living on his farm, which is on an island somewhere near Vancouver. And I've been trying to drag him into things. I don't think he's retired. I just think he loves to sneak on stage and stand-up appearances that no one knows is going to happen. I hope he's not retired. It was an incredible pleasure working with Zach. He's great.
8-Bit Sync Boy says, thanks for Paul. That movie just doesn't get enough love these days. So funny and such a great guest cast, especially Sigourney and Jason Bateman. Looks like it was a lot of fun to make too. Any thoughts on Paul? Yeah,
it was a tremendous fun to make. It was a little challenging because it was like doing an ensemble comedy where one of the main characters is a $15 million special effect, taking up a third of your budget. And so it's like another thing of we got to do this pretty fast and stop for silver ball, special effects plates and shit. But yes, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost are the greatest. Everyone was great. Sigourney, I can't believe Sigourney was willing to do it. She was, I've stayed in touch with her. I see her every once in a while. She's amazing. And and we all love Jason, he himself is a fantastic director.
Dempsey asks, if you had to remake any really bad movie, which one would you choose to do?
Well, that's a challenging question. I'm going to take a pass and see if I think of something, but it's a good question.
What's been your favorite project you've worked on, says Lubitsch Touch Me?
It's hard to pick favorites, but the combination of getting to do something I really fully believed in and felt like I was supported, and then to have people actually go and see it has to be Superbad. That's like a once in a lifetime experience.
And following up on that, Vamp King says, in Superbad, did you base the main characters off of any people you knew?
Well, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg did. They started writing the script when they were teenagers. The only thing that survived from I think they were 15 or even younger when they started writing it. The only thing that survived that version was the name McLovin, because only someone who's like a 15-year-old could come up with a name that stupid. And it's yes, that I'm glad they did not dispense with that part of their original script when they threw the rest away. And yeah,
Well,
they're based on their friends.
any more thoughts on the really bad movie you'd like to remake?
Oh man.
Or maybe even a franchise? You mentioned earlier Lucasfilm. If you were going to play in the Star Wars universe, anything, not that that's bad, but just like, is there something like you haven't like, I mean, you're mostly known for comedies, but like,
I would love the chance to write and/or direct something for them that leans a little more toward the kind of character-based swashbuckling aspects of the original trilogy. Famously, George Lucas was very inspired by a Kurosawa film called Hidden Fortress, which had great characters who became C-3PO and R2-D2. Something that was just a little more, a little more comedy. It would have to be dramatic too, but like real character-based thing, whether that's a show. I'm talking out of my ass. This is never going to happen. But that would be an amazing fantasy.
cool. Well, Greg, I want to thank you for spending time with us on the Film Threat Livecast. I want to thank our chat for all their great questions. Congrats on
thanks,
Confess. Thank you for Confess, Fletch. It's so entertaining, in theaters and available on demand as well. See it either way. But
I don't care how you see it.
Yeah. And just thank you also for your past work. I mean, I've followed you for years, and just at Film Threat, we have an appreciation of the indie. I mean, even when you do like a bigger movie, it has an indie feel.
I can't escape it. I can't seem to escape it. Yeah, because I like character stuff. I love actors. I love character-based stuff. I tend not to get huge budgets, so.
Well, I mean, you bring the right flair to it, and Confess, Fletch is a blast. People are just thanking you in the chat. Take care. I hope we get to talk to you again. And I appreciate your time. Thanks again.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Take care.
All right. Take care, Greg.
Bye.
Later.
Thank you.
What a great guy. That guy's dude. Like, and I'd forgotten that he did Paul. I'm so glad he did Paul. I was like, oh yeah, Paul. People in the chat up on it. I love it. I want to thank everybody there. All right. So we're about to wrap it up here. So we're gonna, by the way, I'm freaking exhausted. I've been on since like 10 in the morning with Gary on the Nerdrotic Nooner in here. So it's been a long live streams for me. I had like 15 minutes in between, and I made myself a cheeseburger and got right here. But I want to thank everybody. Thank everyone here for someone had a funny comment earlier that I wanted to say, that I wanted to highlight, and it's gone now. It was a comment about and Fur to the Future became a YouTube member. Thank you for that. Someone said, I don't want to, quoting me, I don't want to make it about me, slow clap. I think that was funny. I thought that was a funny comment. But the thing is this, I don't want to, this is my thing. I don't want to go into a chat and then suddenly the conversation's about me and not the topic of the live stream was my point. So yeah. And Chris, please don't live stream your shower. Turo. Bingo cards and Alan love emoji. Oh, we gotta get a design of a bingo card. We need a bingo card. It's like, the plungers, RRR mention, Star Wars mention, whatnot. So there you go. I'm exhausted, and I've just been watching since the Nooner, says Shucksy. Yeah, but I tend to do that. That's why I actually love live streams. You kind of put them on and like, look, I don't physically watch everything happening on a live stream. I'm usually kind of I'm working, and then I got the live stream on in the background, but just want to say thank you to everyone in the chat. We've been building an audience now. We're getting like 300-400 for our live streams, which I think is really good. We've got over 200 now. So yeah. And look, Chris Stuckman finally reviewed RRR today. Yes. If you want your reviews 7 months after a movie comes out, that's the place to go. But yeah,
remember, it all starts here.
Yes, and Ryan, if you want to fight with people, Ryan Landis, I'm going to start talking about Chris Gore in every chat I go to now. Yeah, like,
We'll never be short for topics, that's for sure.
Just no, don't look. I appreciate it. People like me. There are people who don't like me. That's okay. I am not gonna your mileage may vary. You're gonna like some things. You're gonna not like some things. That's completely fine. But I want to wrap it up by just saying how much I appreciate all of you. And wait a sec. What is this? Lots still in the chat, but only 27 likes.
Only 27 likes.
Are you trolling me? Are you guys trolling me?
Only 27.
Only 27 likes. Slap that like button like it told a joke about your wife. Yeah. Yeah. Slap it like it told a joke about your wife. Come on. Let's go, folks. Do it.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, CD Stein 69. I also want to thank Glenuccio. He has been killing it on our thumbnails lately.
Oh my god.
Killing it. I think we should maybe even make our thumbnails like even more incendiary. Not the graphics. The graphics are great. Talking about like the text should just be like just totally make it clickbaity text. Should we just do that? Should we start doing that? It'll be like our in joke. It'll be like our in joke. But look, I just really appreciate all of you watching us. You're part of the show. Thank you again. We will be here Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Unfortunately, we didn't talk about House of the Dragon. We didn't talk about Don't Worry, Darling.
Yeah, we can certainly talk about Confess Fletch too.
We'll talk more on Friday about it. My aspiration is always to do way more than we have time for. So, we did our best. But I want to thank you all, and we are signing off. Alan, what do we like to say at the end always?
Let's get out of here.